A 61-year-old patient sat across from me about 2 years ago and said something I haven't forgotten. He was fit, non-smoker, ate well, walked on weekends, by every measure a healthy man. And yet he came to me because his erections had become unreliable. His energy felt flat, and he'd noticed something strange. His legs would tingle and go numb by early afternoon most days. He looked me in the eye and said, "Dr. Gray, I've done everything right. What is happening to my body?" I asked him one question. "How many hours a day do you sit?" He thought about it. Commute, desk, meetings, lunch at his desk, commute home, couch. He said, probably 9 or 10 hours. There was the answer. Not a disease, not irreversible aging, a chair. If you are a man over 50 who spends most of your waking days seated, whether at a desk, in a car, on a couch, what I'm about to share with you isn't a lecture. It's a missing piece. Because what prolonged sitting does to the male body, specifically to blood flow, testosterone, and sexual function, is one of the most underestimated health threats men face today. And almost nobody is talking about it plainly. That changes right now. I'm Dr. Fiona Gray, a board-certified urologist with over 12 years of experience helping men over 60 reclaim their vitality, strength, and confidence. I've worked with thousands of men who walked through my door convinced that what they were experiencing, the fatigue, the declining sexual performance, the vascular sluggishness, was simply the price of getting older. In many of those cases, a significant part of the answer was sitting, literally sitting. And the good news is that this is one of the most correctable things in medicine. Before we get into it, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I genuinely love hearing from men all over the world who are taking their health seriously, and your engagement helps this video reach other men who need this information. Let me paint you the picture that most men are living without realizing it. You wake up, you sit at the breakfast table, you sit in your car for the commute, you sit at your desk for 6, 7, 8 hours. You sit at lunch, you sit in the afternoon meeting, you sit in your car again. And then, because you're tired, because you've been working all day, you sit on the couch for 2 or 3 hours before bed. That is 10 to 12 hours of sitting. And during the vast majority of that time, the large muscle groups in your legs and hips are completely inactive. Your circulation has slowed to a crawl. Your body has effectively shifted into something resembling hibernation. Here's the brutal truth about what that does to male physiology. First, your blood pools. The veins in your lower body rely on muscular contraction to pump blood back up toward your heart. When those muscles are still for hours, blood moves sluggishly through your pelvis and legs. And the pelvis, the network of arteries and veins that supply the entire genital region, becomes chronically underperfused. Less blood in means less blood available when you need it most. Second, your testosterone quietly declines. Research has consistently shown that sedentary behavior is associated with lower serum testosterone. The mechanism isn't fully understood, but we know that physical inactivity reduces Leydig cell function. Those are the cells in your testes responsible for testosterone production. We also know that the compressive pressure of sitting on the perineal region, the area between your scrotum and your anus, directly reduces blood flow and raises local temperature in the scrotal area, which impairs sperm production and may affect hormonal signaling. Think of it like putting your engine under a warm blanket for 10 hours a day and wondering why it runs rough. Third, your endothelial function deteriorates. The endothelium is the thin layer of cells lining every blood vessel in your body. It produces nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for vasodilation, for blood vessels opening wide and allowing free flow. Studies have shown that just 1 hour of uninterrupted sitting reduces endothelial function in the femoral artery by up to 50%. Not 5%, 50%. After 2 or 3 hours, that effect deepens. After a full day, the cumulative damage to vascular responsiveness is significant. And for men over 50, whose baseline nitric oxide production is already declining with age, this compounds an existing vulnerability into something that shows up in the bedroom. This is the connection that men don't see. The question isn't, do I have ED? The question is, have I been sitting my blood flow into dysfunction without knowing it? For many men, the answer is yes, and that means the solution isn't a pill, it's movement. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening, point by point, and what you can do about each one. Stay with me because the last point is the one most men and many doctors completely overlook. Number 1. Sitting compresses the perineal arteries, and that directly affects erection quality. When you sit, particularly on a firm chair, the weight of your body bears down on the perineum, the soft tissue corridor that contains the internal pudendal arteries, which are the primary blood supply to the penis. Studies using Doppler ultrasound have measured blood flow through these arteries in seated versus standing men and found reductions of 70% or more during prolonged sitting. 70%. That's not a marginal effect. That's the arterial equivalent of clamping a garden hose. What this means emotionally is something many men describe as a creeping mystery. Things were fine, then gradually less reliable, then inconsistent. Because this isn't an on-off switch, it's a slow erosion. A man sitting at a desk for 8 years experiences thousands of hours of compromised perineal perfusion. The tissue adapts to less blood. The vascular response becomes dulled, and by the time he notices something's wrong, he's been attributing it to age, to stress, to anything but his chair. Practically, the fix here is remarkably simple. Every 45 to 60 minutes of sitting, stand up and move for 2 to 3 minutes. Not an intense workout, a walk to the water cooler, a lap around the office or the house. This has been shown in research to fully restore femoral and perineal blood flow between sitting intervals. If you work from home, set a timer. If you work in an office, make the restroom trip that you've been postponing your new ritual. 2 minutes of movement per hour may be one of the highest return health investments you make. Number 2, prolonged sitting suppresses nitric oxide production, the master molecule of male vascular health. Nitric oxide is produced by the endothelial cells lining your blood vessels in response to one primary stimulus: shear stress. That's the gentle friction that blood flowing through vessels exerts on the vessel walls. When you move, blood flows faster, shear stress increases, and your endothelium produces nitric oxide, which tells the smooth muscle in your vessel walls to relax and open wide. When you sit still for hours, blood flow slows, shear stress drops, and nitric oxide production falls with it. For a man in his 30s, this matters somewhat. For a man over 55, whose baseline nitric oxide synthesis has already declined by 20 to 30% due to normal aging, this is the difference between vascular health and vascular dysfunction. Low nitric oxide doesn't just mean weaker erections. It means higher blood pressure, less efficient oxygen delivery to muscles and organs, and accelerated arterial stiffening. It's the cardiovascular aging fast-forward button, and prolonged sitting is pressing it every day. One of my patients, Dennis, 64, a retired accountant who had taken up day trading after leaving his firm, came to me about 18 months ago. He'd gone from an active working life to sitting in front of 3 monitors for 6 to 8 hours a day. Within a year, his blood pressure had crept up, his erections had become noticeably weaker, and he was exhausted by mid-afternoon every day. His labs were otherwise clean. I explained the nitric oxide mechanism. He was skeptical at first. "So you're saying my stock charts are giving me ED?" Essentially, yes. We built him a simple movement protocol. 8 weeks later, he came back and said, "I didn't think something that basic could work that fast. My wife wants to send you a thank you card." Practically, there are 2 approaches that work synergistically. First, dietary nitrates. Leafy greens, particularly arugula, spinach, and beets, contain nitrates that your body converts to nitric oxide through a pathway that bypasses the endothelium entirely. Adding one nitrate-rich food to at least one meal daily provides a meaningful substrate boost. Second, L-citrulline supplementation. At 3 to 6 grams daily, L-citrulline has been shown in clinical trials to increase plasma arginine levels. Arginine is the direct precursor to nitric oxide, and improve erection hardness scores in men with mild to moderate erectile dysfunction. These aren't gimmicks. They're basic vascular biochemistry working in your favor. Number 3, sitting for hours raises scrotal temperature, and that quietly undermines testosterone and fertility. The testes are located outside the body for one very specific reason. Sperm production and optimal testosterone output require a temperature 2 to 4 degrees Celsius below core body temperature. The scrotal position and a specialized circulatory system that pre-cools arterial blood flowing to the testes maintains this temperature differential. When you sit, your thighs and perineum press inward, trapping heat around the scrotal area. Prolonged sitting can raise scrotal temperature by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. Over years and decades, this chronic thermal stress impairs Leydig cell function, the testosterone-producing cells, and has been associated with lower morning testosterone levels in sedentary men compared to active men of the same age. For men already experiencing the natural testosterone decline of aging, which begins around 35 and accelerates after 50, this additional suppression compounds an existing deficit. Lower testosterone means reduced libido, slower recovery, lower mood, decreased muscle mass, and compounding erectile dysfunction. The chair, essentially, is doing to your hormones what years of training work to build. Practically, cotton, breathable underwear over synthetics matters more than most men think. So does avoiding extended laptop use with the device resting directly on the lap. But most critically, regular movement breaks that involve standing and walking cool the scrotal environment and restore circulation. Cold water immersion after a long day of sitting, a cool shower, or even a brief cool soak has been shown to help restore scrotal temperature to baseline. It's not complicated, it's physics. Number 4, sitting shuts down the muscle groups that produce testosterone-boosting hormones. Your gluteal muscles, the glutes, are the largest muscle group in the human body. When active, they produce significant mechanical and metabolic signals that trigger hormonal cascades, including growth hormone and testosterone release. When you sit all day, your glutes are not just inactive, they become neurologically inhibited, a phenomenon exercise scientists call gluteal amnesia. The neural pathway from your brain to these muscles becomes desensitized from chronic compression and disuse. The muscles weaken, and with them goes a major driver of the metabolic and hormonal activity that keeps the male body functioning optimally. There's an emotional dimension to this that most men don't connect. The fatigue many desk-bound men experience by mid-afternoon, that heavy, motivational tank empty feeling, isn't just mental, it's partially metabolic. Inactive large muscle groups means slower glucose metabolism, lower anabolic hormone output, and a body that is quite literally conserving energy, as though preparing for extended rest. Men often push through this with caffeine and willpower, never realizing their body is responding appropriately to the signal they've been sending it all day. Stay still, stay inactive, power down. Quick pause before we continue, because this next part is where it gets genuinely actionable. The glutes respond remarkably quickly to reactivation. Just 10 minutes of targeted glute work, hip thrusts, glute bridges, banded lateral walks, done in the morning before a sitting heavy day, or broken across 2 5-minute sessions, has been shown to restore neuromuscular activation and improve hormonal markers. This isn't about building a physique. This is about sending your endocrine system the signal that you are an active, capable organism, and watching your energy, mood, and sexual function respond accordingly. Number 5, chronic sitting accelerates arterial stiffness, the hidden driver of ED and cardiovascular risk in men over 50. Arterial stiffness, the gradual loss of elasticity in your blood vessel walls, is one of the strongest predictors of cardiovascular events and erectile dysfunction in men over 50. Healthy arteries are supple. They expand and contract with each heartbeat, maintaining smooth, pulsatile blood flow. Stiff arteries don't expand well. They transmit pressure erratically, raise systolic blood pressure, and most relevantly for sexual function, they cannot deliver the rapid, high-volume surge of blood that a full erection requires. Exercise is the most powerful antidote to arterial stiffness we have. Physical activity increases arterial compliance, literally making vessels more elastic through nitric oxide upregulation, reduced oxidative stress, and improved endothelial repair. Conversely, prolonged sedentary behavior has been shown in longitudinal studies to independently accelerate arterial stiffening, even after controlling for diet, weight, and other variables. Sitting isn't neutral. It's actively aging your arteries faster than they would otherwise age. I want to tell you about Walter, 72, a former engineer who had been retired for 7 years. Active career, active man. And then retirement became a long, comfortable chapter of reading, television, and minimal movement. He came to me because his GP had flagged elevated blood pressure, and he'd simultaneously noticed that erections had become rare and weak. His resting heart rate was high. His arterial pulse wave velocity, a measure of arterial stiffness, was in the concerning range for his age. We built a structured daily movement plan: morning walk, afternoon mobility work, reduced sitting time. 14 weeks later, his blood pressure had dropped meaningfully. His arterial stiffness markers had improved, and he told me, "I hadn't realized how much I'd stopped feeling like myself. I feel like I'm back." Practically, the gold standard for reversing arterial stiffness is consistent, moderate aerobic exercise, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But for men who haven't been exercising, the barrier to starting feels enormous. Start with this: 10 minutes of brisk walking after each meal. 3 meals, 3 walks, 30 minutes total. Done. Research shows that post-meal walking specifically improves glycemic response, lowers triglycerides, and initiates arterial conditioning. It is one of the highest yield, lowest barrier interventions in men's health. Number 6, the sitting ED connection is reversible, but most men wait too long to act, and here's why that matters. This is the one most men get wrong. They notice the symptoms: diminished erections, lower energy, reduced drive, and they wait. They tell themselves it's a phase. They assume it's age and nothing can be done. They're embarrassed to bring it up with a doctor. And in waiting, they allow what is initially a functional, reversible problem to become a structural one. Blood vessels that are chronically underperfused don't just recover instantly when you start moving again. There is a window, and it is a generous window, but it is not infinite, during which the vascular damage is fully reversible through behavioral change. Beyond a certain threshold of arterial stiffening and endothelial dysfunction, the body needs more aggressive intervention: medication, therapy, sometimes procedures. The men who act early, who change their relationship with sitting before the system is deeply compromised, are the men who recover fully and maintain that recovery for decades. I am not telling you this to create fear. I am telling you this because the information is empowering. You are reading this, which means you're in the window. The fact that you're here, asking these questions, paying attention, that is the first movement, and it matters. Here is your simple action plan. Write these down. Step 1. Set a movement alarm for every 45 minutes while seated. When it goes off, stand and walk for 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. You don't need a gym. You need to not be still for long, unbroken stretches. Step 2. Add 1 nitrate-rich food to your daily meals: arugula in your lunch salad, spinach in your eggs, a small serving of beet juice before dinner. Simple, consistent, and directly supportive of nitric oxide production. Step 3. Start 10 minutes of morning glute activation before your sitting day begins. Hip thrusts or glute bridges, 2 sets of 15. This reactivates the neuromuscular pathways that sitting suppresses and sends your hormonal system the right signal for the day ahead. Step 4. Take a 10-minute brisk walk after your largest meal of the day. If you can do it after all 3 meals, even better. This one habit addresses arterial stiffness, glycemic control, and pelvic circulation simultaneously. 4 steps. No equipment required, no dramatic lifestyle overhaul, just a consistent, informed relationship with your own body. 3 to 4 weeks in, most men report noticeable changes in energy and sexual function. 6 to 8 weeks in, the changes become significant. Before I let you go, I want to say something directly. If you've been frustrated, if you've been quietly embarrassed or withdrawn, if you've been chalking things up to age and telling yourself, this is just how it is now, I need you to hear this. You are not broken. What is happening in your body is not a verdict, it is feedback. Your circulation is responding to a set of conditions, and those conditions can be changed. The men I have watched recover from years of sedentary-driven vascular decline are not exceptional. They are ordinary men who received clear information and acted on it with consistency. What they had was not willpower or youth. What they had was understanding. You now have that understanding too, even after 60, even after 70. The vascular system retains a remarkable capacity to adapt, recover, and respond, if you give it the signal. Your body is not betraying you. It's been waiting for you to move. If this video gave you something, a connection you hadn't made, an answer to something you've been wondering, please give it a like right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this video reach other men who are sitting through the same problem without knowing why. Leave a comment below. Tell me, how many hours a day do you estimate you sit? Just a number. I read every comment, and that data genuinely helps me create content that serves you. Share this video with a man in your life who spends his days at a desk, a brother, a colleague, a friend. You might be putting something in his hands that changes his health. And subscribe to this channel if you want real, science-grounded, respectful health information for men over 60 every single week. I'm Dr. Fiona Gray, reminding you that after 50, vitality is not lost. It is simply waiting for you to get up. Take care of yourself, gentlemen, and I'll see you in the next one.